Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode number 3 of the Associated Wrestling Press College Wrestling Review. I'll be your host, Eric Olenowski, and a couple things to address before we get episode number 3 started. Devontae Mahomes, I want to apologize for calling you Austin Mahomes. Austin Mahomes is a teenage pop star, and I have no clue how I got you guys mixed up. I just got so excited about your wrestling, so I first off want to say I'm sorry for that. And I apologize to the Edinburgh Fighting Scots. I repeatedly said the Fighting Scouts. A couple suggestions I got on episode number 2 to take my face off the screen. I can't do that. That's something I can't do. Do some Twitter shout-outs. I'm going to get into those a little later. And stop saying the word I'm trying. Trust me, I watched episode number 2, I didn't like how much I said it. With that said, ladies and gentlemen, let's get into the topic of discussion for the week of November 20th through the 23rd. Today's agenda for the show, we will be covering one duel for each of the days, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. For Thursday, you're looking at number 13, Iowa State, coming to Central Michigan. Friday, you're looking at number 8, Penn State, at number 16, Pitt. Saturday, you're looking at Oklahoma at number 4, Cornell. And Sunday is number 3, Ohio State, at number 11, Virginia Tech. That's going to be an exciting one. Watch out for that. A couple wrestlers aren't going to be wrestling. We have some injuries, but stay tuned for that one. Other notable tournaments that are going on for this weekend. Let's start out with the duels, actually. We'll hold off on the tournaments. Key duels will be Missouri versus number 7 Missouri versus number 16 Old Dominion, and number 13 Iowa State versus Michigan State. I'll be covering that one live, so look for some live tweets. Saturday is the Navy Classic. The teams that will be attending the Navy Classic will be Brown, Bucknell, Chattanooga, Cleveland State, George Mason. Shout out to Tom Carr at George Mason. Kent State, Navy, North Carolina, Ohio, Princeton, the Citadel, West Virginia, and Wisconsin. So that's Saturday, and that's the Navy Classic. Sunday is Penn's Keystone Classic. Appalachian will be in attendance along with Bloomsburg, Campbell, Drexel, Eastern Michigan, Harvard, Indiana, Northwestern, Penn, Pitt, Rider, South Dakota State, Stanford, VMI are all the teams that will be attending the Keystone Classic. Now let's jump right into action for Thursday's duel. Number 13, Iowa State comes to Central Michigan. Central Michigan is coming off a tough weekend. Here is their schedule. So they started out with Clarion. They beat Clarion. Then they had to wrestle Northwestern and Edinburgh, both ranked top 20 in the country. Keep in mind, I just told you Iowa State is coming to Central. So they're going to wrestle Iowa State, also ranked top 20 in the country. And then when Iowa State leaves, University of Michigan comes in. So it's important for Central Michigan to get off on a good note this weekend, because it'll be tough for them to start their dual season with a record of 1-4. Keep in mind they wrestled 4 top 20 teams. You got to be competitive, though. Iowa State comes into this duel 2-0, beating Utah Valley and Boise State. Key matchups. So what we're going to do for each of these duels, we're going to have ranked matchups and wrestlers to watch. Let's start out with the wrestlers to watch for. 3 returning All-Americans, all coming from Iowa State. That's why they're ranked so high. You have Earl Hall, placed 8th at 125 last year. You have Mike Moreno, who placed 5th last year. And you have Kevon Gadsden, who placed 4th last year. So they have a pretty experienced team coming back. 3 out of 10 guys, not bad for the All-Americans. A key matchup here, I would have to say, is the 133-pound matchup between Earl Hall versus number 25, Tyler Kesselring. So that's number 7 versus number 25. We have the next really close ranking we get to would be somewhere. We have number 27, John Meeks at 141 versus number 14, Zach Haran. But, this match is going to be, I think, Iowa State is going to have, I wouldn't say a fairly easy time, but, Central Michigan looked like they were struggling this weekend, so look for Iowa State to take this duel. Jumping to Friday's duel, number 8, Penn State travels to take on number 16, Pitt. Penn State beat Lehigh earlier in the season, and we'll get into what I think. They beat them 24-10, so they're coming in 1-0. Pitt comes into this duel with a record of 3-1. They knocked off number 10 Edinboro, but their only losses to Lehigh, who Penn State beat. Key matchups. So wrestlers to watch for. Let's start with that. Key wrestlers to watch for, Matt Brown and Tyler Wilps, both returning All-Americans, and they'll wrestle each other. One interesting thing I have here, when looking at the rankings, you see Jimmy Goolibon, number 4 at 133 pounds. Last year, he didn't live up to the standards that Penn State set forth for him. I think, coming in, you got to think he's 18-year-old kid, if that. 17, 18-year-old kid coming in, and they say, hey, you're going to start, you're going to get out there, you're going to wrestle with the likes of David Taylor and Ed Ruth. We want you to perform at the highest level. I think there was too much pressure on him to get the job done last year. He's going to come out this year. He's already came out firing. So he knocked off number 2, Mason Beckman, in the Lehigh duel. Just goes to show you, I think Jimmy Goolibon is ready to wrestle this year. Keep an eye on him. Matchups to look for this duel, 174 pounds between, like I said, number 3, Matt Brown versus number 4, Ty Wilps. Both returning All-Americans. Brown took 5th last year. Wilps took 2nd. So pay attention to that match. If it wasn't for the Joey Dance Tomasello match that I'm going to talk about here in a little bit, at 125 pounds for the Ohio State versus Virginia Tech duel, I would give this the match to look for the entire weekend. But I'm not. This is a second to watch for. Our second match for this duel to watch for is 184 pounds. Number 4, Max Thomaset versus number 24, Matt McCutcheon. And you can find these rankings on AssociatedWrestlingPress.com in the ranking section. Go down to college and look for the rankings. So that's 184. Next match, 197. Morgan McIntosh, returning All-American. He's number 4 in the country, and he'll wrestle number 8, Nick Bonacorsi. So look forward to that. That was Friday's duel between Penn State and Pitt. Like I said, when you're a younger wrestler, you have that theory, A beat B, so A can beat C, and B can beat C if B beat A, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? You always have that. So Penn State beat Lehigh. Lehigh beat Pitt. Does Penn State beat Pitt? I think they do. I'm going with the theory as if I was a beginning JV wrestler. Saturday's duel is Oklahoma versus Oklahoma at number 4, Cornell. Oklahoma 3-0. Cornell 0-0. So they're both undefeated coming in to this duel. Someone's going to have to get their first loss. Key matchups to watch for, 157 pounds. Number 12, Justin DeAngelis of Oklahoma will take on Brian Robuto. Robuto, if you can remember, returning All-American, 6th last year. And for Cornell, here's the key. They have 3 returning All-Americans, and Nashawn Garrett at 125 pounds, returning national runner-up Brian Relbuto and Gabe Dean. Now, Mark Gray at 141 and Chris Villalonga at 149. Mark Gray lost to Bruno the first round, fought his way all the way back to the round of 12, the blood round, and lost to Mason Beckman from Lehigh. So he was 1 round away from All-American. Chris Villalonga lost also, was 34-4, the 3rd seed coming into the NCAA tournament, lost in the blood round to Eric Hollis, who ended up taking 3rd. So they realistically could have had 5 All-Americans on their team returning. We're not going to waste our time on that. That's last year. They're looking for big things this year. Another match to watch for would have to be heavyweight number 9, Ross Larson versus number 25, Jacob, the man with 2 last names, Aiken Phillips. So pay attention for that. We're going to get into the duel that I have been so excited about. I'm a Michigan State fan at heart, but Virginia Tech would have been my number 2 choice. I'm from Virginia. Little background on me. So I say hi Hokie. But let's get into this duel. Number 3, Ohio State is going to take on number 11, Virginia Tech. Both of these teams are 3-0. Right off the bat, the match to watch for 125 pounds. Number 4, Joey Dance versus Nathan Tomasello. Tomasello looked amazing. The kid has an unlimited gas tank. I would love to ride with him anywhere he went because he wouldn't make you pay for gas because his gas tank is unlimited. Joey Dance, returning All-American, took 4th last year. Kind of a surprise at the tournament. And the thing about this duel is you have a lot of great wrestlers wrestling, but you don't know really who's wrestling. At 157, number 5, Nick Bruschetta, didn't wrestle last week. Sal Mastriani, who beat Devin Carter at the Hokie Open, wrestled at 157. And then you have Chris Moon, who would be wrestling Bo Jordan, but didn't wrestle. And now we get word that Bo Jordan's out. So it's like, what do you do? And then at 149, you hear Devin Carter can't make 141 yet. He's slowly getting his weight down. Coach Kevin Dresser wants him back down to 141, but can he beat Stieber? I think that was the question. So key matchups to watch for: Joey Dance, Nathan Tomasello. 133, you got 24 ranked Kevin Nordstrom versus number 10, Johnny DeJulius. Logan Stieber at 141. Doesn't matter who he's wrestling because he's a 3-time returning NCAA champion. So look for big things from him. 149, Devin Carter will be there. Who will he be wrestling? We don't know. 174 is between number 8, Zach Epperly versus number 10, Mark Martin. That'll be a great one. Number 20 at 184, number 25, Austin Gable versus Kenny Courts. That'll be another great one. Kyle Snyder, the freshman phenom, will be at 197. And at heavyweight, this will also be a great one. If you hate watching heavyweights wrestle, you want to see a top 15 matchup, and that's what you're going to see. And Ty Walls, number 9, Ty Walls versus number 12, Nick Tinello. Sorry, excuse me. Looking at the clock like I shouldn't be. But that is going to do it for our time here for episode number 3. This is just a preview of this weekend's duels that are going to be happening. Look forward to those matchups. Keep in mind that we will be coming back at you with a college wrestling review. Thanks for listening. Once again, I've been Eric Olenowski, and this has been the Associated Wrestling Press College Wrestling Review.